Good morning, everybody out there in the soccer world, the football nation across the 7, 8, 9. How many continents are there? I don't know. That's not what we're supposed to be experts on. There's 10. There are 10 continents. We are supposed to be experts on soccer, and last week it was nice. It kind of looked like we actually were experts. We're coming off a 3-1 week. Welcome in, everybody. Edging a win here. We got 4 more best bets for you today. But before we get into our best bets, we got to welcome the face of the program, the man to my left on your screen, but the man who's centralized in our hearts. Please welcome, knower of all things soccer, former world Pilates instructor and friend from the high seas, Mr. Ian Allen from his YouTube channel, Ian OUFC. How goes it, Ian?
I don't know a lot about Pilates, Matt, but I'm more of a yoga man. My downward dog was as good as anybody's. But yeah, look, it's been absolutely non-stop soccer, isn't it? We're seeing the back. We talked about this just a second ago. We're seeing the knock-on effect of the World Cup now, where it's just literally just games constantly throughout the week, which is absolutely great as a fan, as much as the managers like to moan about the rest time and everything. Screw them. We get to see great football every single day. But it's all about preparation, and I'm going to show you how prepared I am. I realized I've just hung my background up back to front. There you go. There you go. That's how prepared I am today. But we're going to try. We had a good weekend, as you said last weekend. Let's see if we can get a few more winners for you this weekend.
Yeah, it was a great week. We went 3-1. We got a fun show lined up for everyone. You got to stick around where we give out Ian's £1 parlay. I think it's fantastic odds. It's, I think, again, at like plus over 2,000, if I'm not mistaken. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button. Check out all the social media pages that's there on the screen. But without further ado, I want to dive into Ian's 3 best bets for this weekend. And the first one we're going to look at is in a favorite league of mine. I really enjoy some Serie A action. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, I like to try and give something a little bit like straight away after the stream in the Premier League, but there's so few games kicking off at the 3 o'clock or 10 a.m. time. So I've just had to go for something a little bit later. So we are looking in Serie A. We're looking for Roma versus AC Milan, or Milan, as you probably say. 5 p.m. kickoff time, my time, so 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are going for goals. We're going for over 2.5 goals in this one. You've got two sides battling for Champions League spaces, and that is what the main thing is. What is happening in Serie A. Napoli are pretty much closed out this title, just a few weeks away from just getting that over the line. So it's all about who's going to finish in these Champions League places, and anybody from Lazio in second all the way down to Atalanta in seventh have a chance of finishing in the top 4. So there is still some intrigue there. This one is Roma a 5th, AC Milan a 4th. So, still plenty to play for those two clubs. This one might be a bit of a slow burn, and it might be one that just takes a little bit of time to get going. But I do think it will build quite nicely, and towards the end of the game, I think you'll see a bit of an exciting end to this one. And I think the over is actually pretty good value on this game as well. It should be quite tense, quite nervy. And again, obviously, you know who the Roma manager is in Jose Mourinho. So don't be surprised if you do see a red card in there as well. Even it could be for Mourinho himself. But I see this one being a pretty good game between two of the heavy hitters in Serie A. Both of them going well in European competitions. AC Milan in the semi-final of Champions League, Roma in the Europa League. The fact that Roma are at home, I think that they might just come through with a narrow win in this one. I'm going for 2-1 win to Roma, which means we'll hit our over 2.5 goals.
Yeah, Ian, I like that bet a lot. I like both these teams. Roma won me some money last week, so I can't hate on them. Looks like these two sides, though, they might cancel each other out. So where are you betting that the goals are actually going to come from either side?
Yeah, again, as I say, I wouldn't even be surprised if this one isn't, if you even have no goals at half time. I do think this one will be a case of two sides just kind of testing the water a little bit and trying to sort of feel the other team out a little bit before we do get some drama in the second half. But Yeah, look, I mean, you still got some great strikers on show. You've got two sides that play in different formations. Roma will try and get width into the game through their wing backs, with Spinazzola and Zalewski. There we go. And they'll try and get balls into Tammy Abraham. I don't know if you remember him from Chelsea, Matt, but often overlooked English striker Tammy Abraham. Slovakian up there as well. And they got Pellegrini in behind. Dybala might be able to come off the bench as well. He's currently just nursing a bit of an injury at the moment. But AC Milan, they will play a 4-2-3-1, and they'll be more about kind of, I imagine they'll try and press Roma quite high, force their backline into some mistakes. You got Olivier Giroud up front, who's a great target man. We've seen that so many times for France and for Milan too. And then you've got the players in behind it like Diaz, Benacar, and the star of the man is Rafael Leao. Wonderful performance against Napoli in the Champions League. I think he's got 6 goals, 6 assists in his last few games. He really is a star player on that wide left, so expect a lot of creativity and the odd goal coming from him. But I think this one could be a good game. I think this one could be really, really fun game to watch. So sit back, relax, enjoy it as you normally say, and hopefully we'll get some goals.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think it is going to be a great game. In fact, I do love Serie A. I think it's one of the funnest leagues to watch, in my opinion. I don't know, outside of Premier League and maybe Bundesliga. But that is a great. I do remember Abraham, by the way. In fact, Chelsea probably could use him back this season.
Yeah, I often. Again, it's a very, very blinkered mindset in England, right? Of like, once a player goes out of the UK, unless you're Jude Bellingham, it's kind of like they disappear into the ether once they're not into the Premier League. He often gets quite forgotten because he's not playing in the Premier League every week.
Yeah, and speaking of the Premier League, I think that's where we're going here for our second best bet of the weekend. A good one with a title race kind of on the line with one of these teams. You want to go ahead and talk about what you got here and your second best bet?
Yeah, bet 2. We're moving into Sunday, so 2 p.m. kickoff by time. Early one for you guys, 9 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. We're going for Fulham versus Manchester City, and of course, we're back in Man City. We're going for the -1 on the spread. You might not be able to get -1 some places. It might have drifted out to -2, but that would still be worth a punt as well, because Man City are, in my opinion, the best side on the planet right now. They are absolutely fantastic, and no one can really get close to them. We'll see how close Real Madrid can get to them. That's probably the only side comparable to them at the moment. But this City side is like a different level to all the other sides we see in the Premier League. We saw them how they played against Arsenal, and we'll talk about that one in a little bit. But they are at the time of the season now where Man City just win games for fun. Pep Guardiola's side, he seems to get everything in place for this final bit of the season, and they're usually absolutely perfect to run out a season. And don't be surprised if City just come there to Fulham, who have had a good season. Let's not be fair. Fulham are a decent side, and by their own standards, staying up in the Premier League is a really good year. But I just think that Man City is so powerful at the moment with Haaland, with De Bruyne, with just about everybody else in their side. I think they're almost playing a different sport to everyone else at the moment. And I see a big Man City win. So -1 or whatever you can get on the spread for Man City.
Yeah, I mean, Man City just looks fantastic, Ian. Let's talk about for just a second. Arsenal is kind of, as I say in American terms, screwed the pooch on their season here. They go down 4-1 to Man City last week. I don't even think that score is reflective of what it could have been. Man City, 9 shots on goal to just 2 by Arsenal. There was I believe, a quick score in the 7th minute by De Bruyne, and then they end up Man City 2-0 right there at the end of the half. What did you take away, from that match? I mean, is Arsenal just done?
Yeah, well, it's important to remember that Arsenal are still top of the league, and Man City are 2 points behind, but Man City do have 2 games in hand, and they could really, that this is a game where if they beat Fulham, they will jump above Arsenal and they will be in the top spot. It just felt like such a change. It just felt almost like what's the word I'm trying to say? Men against boys in a way. And I really worried about Arsenal's mentality over the last few weeks, and they let these leads slip against Liverpool and against West Ham, and then the Southampton game was such a team that was playing without any clear focus. They looked mentally kind of gone, and you just can't afford to rock up and play Man City in that sort of mind frame. And Man City, just the way they pressed Arsenal, Arsenal just felt like they had like a vice around their necks the whole game and they couldn't shake it. And if Man City would have scored 6 or 7, it wouldn't have flattered them. The difference that Erling Haaland has made to this side as well, it just gives them a different dynamic of he can obviously he's a major goal scorer, but it also means that he can drop off, hold the ball up, play the runners in behind. It's a completely different look to this Man City side now from what we've seen, and they can still fall back on the fact that they can keep the ball for 20 minutes and you can't get it off them. I don't see how anybody else gets near them for the Premier League or even for Europe. For the rest, they have to really play badly in a game for them to mess it up, and I just don't see it happening. And this is as good a Man City side as I think I've ever seen.
JD in the chat says Arsenal is an embarrassment. Even Chelsea could put up 3 goals on Arsenal right now.
Well, good segue there, JD, because that is who Arsenal play next on Tuesday. They got a bit of a break now till they play Chelsea, and Chelsea have been horrible, but the way Arsenal have been mentally gone, you can see Chelsea turning up there and beating them.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to tell you right now something, though. As much as you say Arsenal is at the top of the table and they are 2 points clear of Man City, the odds maker would disagree with you on how hard... Man City, I just looked this up. Man City to win the Premier League, 2 points behind Arsenal right now, is minus 1,600. Yeah. Just an absolute favorite.
I don't think anybody disagrees with that.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, Arsenal are top of the league, but everybody just can see that Man City are probably just going to storm away to this title now.
Yeah.
And wow, they are. As I said, they could have scored a lot more. You said it as well. They could have scored a lot more goals against Arsenal.
For sure. Great. I like it. I like back in Man City against Fulham. That one again tomorrow, early morning. Wake up, make some coffee. Enjoy that one if you're here in the East Coast of America. Let's get to your third best bet, and I believe we're going to Ligue 1, if I'm not mistaken. And we have a good one in this one. What are you taking?
Yeah, so Sunday evening or Sunday afternoon, your time, 2:45 Eastern Standard Time, Marseille versus Auxerre. We're going for over 2.5 goals in this one. In terms of the league itself, the French league isn't exactly the most exciting at the moment because you do have PSG who are just going to run away with it like they always seem to do. But there are still Champions League places and there are still survival for relegation to decide. And here's what you have, 2 sides in that boat. You've got Marseille who want to finish second. If you finish third in the French league, you don't get an automatic Champions League place. You have to play qualifiers. And you've got Auxerre, who are one of about 5 or 6 clubs that could still get relegated from the French league. So it is a big game from both sides. And both sides are actually in really good form as well. Auxerre have got 3 wins and a draw from their last 4 games. And I think they've only lost 2 out of the last 10. So both these sides are in pretty good form. Both these sides can score goals. So I do think, again, like what I said about the first game, I do think this one will be a pretty good game. But I do see Marseille coming through it. I think they'll win probably 3-1, 3-2, just that little bit of extra quality and playing at home as well. So we should hit the goals one pretty comfortably on this one, over 2.5 goals. But it is still a good price, so put your money on.
Yeah, I do like Marseille. They score a lot of goals, and they give up goals too. Actually, backing them at both teams to score, I think, is also very good in their matches. The league, pretty much right now in Ligue 1, Paris. PSG, they're kind of running away with it. They had a couple hiccups a few games ago, but they've gotten back on track with 3 wins in a row. But what I'm really seeing here is kind of what I want to pay attention to in Ligue 1 is the race between Champions League, the promotion there, the qualification, the Europa League group stage, and the Conference League. Those spots are up for play. You got Marseille in second at 67 points, Lens with 66, Monaco with 61, and Lille with 56, with Rennes and Lyon. With 53. So there are about 6 teams fighting for some spots and some promotions. Anything that piques your interest there, Ian?
Just those 3 sides in behind PSG, really. Marseille, Lens, and Monaco should be a pretty good battle to see who gets those final Champions League spots. But to finish second is such a difference between finishing third in the French league, where they only have those 2 spots available for automatic Champions League places. Last season, you saw Monaco mess up and finish third on the final day of the season. They ended up going into a Champions League qualifier, and then they didn't even make it into the Champions League. So it can be a massive difference to these clubs. A lot of these clubs are fighting for scraps below what PSG throw off the table, really, and so they really have to try take advantage of these things. So that one should be interesting. You got some of those bigger clubs as well about disappointing seasons, like Lyon, who is that? Rennes as well. They've been a decent side lately.
Yeah.
I can't even say the other side. Lille as well. Sorry, Lille as well. Those sides are they've been pushing for Champions League in recent years as well, so they've been having a poor season. For them to just scrape a Conference League one is not a good year for them.
Sure.
And there's some sides further down the table as well, like Nice. They got nothing to play for, and it's really funny because a load of Premier League players like Kasper Schmeichel, Aaron Ramsey went to play there, and people were like, "Oh, Nice could be really good this year." In reality, beautiful part of the world, nice payday, beautiful beach. Why wouldn't you want to go and play for Nice? Nobody really cares about the football, but there is still stuff down the bottom as well. You got Ajaccio, Troyes, Brest, Nantes, Strasbourg, and Auxerre. All of them still kind of got a chance of staying up. So there is still stuff to play for down there. Although I think we'll all agree it isn't the most exciting league, just because PSG tend to be so dominant.
Sure. First off, good morning to Al. He said, good morning, gents. Good to see Al, friend of the channel, in. Nice to see you. Good morning. Happy weekend. JD says if Monaco could actually play some defense, they would be a top team.
Yeah, true. That's a problem for a lot of the French sides, though. They seem to be very good going forward, but poor at the back. But yeah, Monaco, when you consider they've conceded 46 goals, it's by far and away the worst out of the sides up there, and that's what's come back to cost them. In a recent game where they played a side down the bottom, 2-0 up, absolutely coasting, blew it. So
for sure.
Yeah.
That's our 3 best bets. That's your 3 best bets. We got a couple more to get into, but listen, Ian, there's a ton of games on this weekend. I know we talked about one of them in the Premier League. So what do you like around the world for the rest of the weekend and maybe into early next week?
Yeah, so one of the games we didn't talk about is Liverpool versus Tottenham. It's still a big game in the Premier League. You've got Liverpool have actually hit a little bit of form without actually looking that great. They've hit a tiny little bit of form, and they'll be thinking if they can improve towards the last 5 or 6 games, they might still be able to sneak into a Champions League place, which, from considering their season, that would be pretty huge. But we did see Tottenham finally show a bit of fighting spirit against Man United, so we will see. That one should be. I would expect goals in that one as well. We talked about Arsenal, Chelsea. That one, I mean, I wouldn't bet any money on Arsenal at the moment, put it that way. But still a London derby and a fun one to watch. Yeah. Look, PSG are at home to Lorient. They're probably they're huge favourites in their league. We'll just touch on the Spanish league before I'll get to Germany, which is where the real hot talking point is. You got Barcelona versus Real Betis and Real Madrid versus Almeria. Those Spanish sides really had some weird games in midweek, didn't they? They all seem to lose. And Real Madrid just don't seem to be able to get any momentum and capitalize on Barcelona's mistakes. So that was a weird midweek game in Spain. But Germany, oh my goodness me, Matt. Bayern Munich and Dortmund, this battle for the title. And if you're a Dortmund fan, I mean, I don't know how close you are to like jumping off a bridge or something after yesterday, for fuck's sake. But, I mean, you haven't won the league in like a decade. Bayern Munich don't mess up too much. This season, they've been a bit of a basket case over the last few weeks, changing managers, trouble in the side, look very disjointed. You would think this is the perfect opportunity for Dortmund to take advantage. They did last week, but then last night, they played a rivalry game, a derby game against Bochum, but fucking hell, man. I mean, sorry to swear, but you're playing a side down the bottom of the league.
Mm-hmm.
You need to win a game to put pressure, keep yourself in top spot, to keep yourself ahead of Bayern Munich. and you go and draw 1-1.
Yeah.
And it's like you give away a goal in the first 5 minutes, and then you get one back 2 minutes later, and then you just can't go on to win it. Like,
Yeah.
what?
It was.
So frustrating watching that game. I was like pulling my hair out, and I've got no dog in the fight, but I was just so desperate for Dortmund to get the win, but they can't. They just never seem to be able to get the job done.
Yeah, Ian, that was frustrating as all hell, and I had a dog in the fight because I had a third goal, and I could not believe. By the way, 10 minutes in, it was 1-1. It was 1-1, 10 minutes into that match, and Dortmund on the road couldn't beat Bochum. I mean, come on, man. That's absolutely ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they didn't even play that great. And Bochum could have even won it. And Dortmund were really just relying on hopefully trying to get some penalty shouts. This is where you really come back to saying, and I didn't talk about this when you said, this goes back to like a Man City thing.
Yeah.
When you've got a striker who is guaranteed to score you goals, that makes such a difference to the way a team plays. You see Man City, and they're just like, they know that even if they're playing shite, they can get Haaland in the game and he can score them a goal. Dortmund were just crying out for a centre forward to stick the ball in the back of the net yesterday, and they just don't have a good one. And that was what really came back to bite them.
Yeah, disappointing, but great matches all around the world. Absolutely love it, but
I got one more.
Oh, you
Sorry,
do have one more. You do. Yeah.
I'm just going to say one more. And again, not very interesting probably for you guys, but it is a huge game over in Britain as well whenever Rangers and Celtic play. Scottish Cup semi-final, two sides that absolutely hate each other. There's always controversy. There's always drama. Rangers versus Celtic. If you can catch that one on Sunday, I think, check it out.
Yeah, actually, I do love some Scottish football. I'm a Celtic fan. That's one of 60 teams.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
Always been more of a Rangers man myself.
As much as I love world football, though, it's time to get into some American football with the MLS. And Ian, it was quite a week for our beloved St. Louis SC team. They were just minutes away from taking a win in Colorado. They gave up a 90-second goal, ended up 1-1.
Sorry, I have to stop you there.
Yeah.
Sorry to stop you. Edging a win.
Yeah. They were minutes away from edging a win. And could they edge it? They could not edge it, sir. 90-second goal. They looked like the Wickham Wanderers out there giving up goals late. But still, they get a point, and that point does keep them atop the standings in the West by goal differential over the Seattle Sounders. Here's the bad news, Ian, and I'm not sure if you're even aware of this, but Klaus is out for about 2 weeks. He picked up a quad strain in that match, and unfortunately, he's going to be out for 2 weeks. Now, the St. Louis SC team, they were not done last week because they journeyed to play, they played at home, Omaha, in the Open Cup Journey, round number 3. Omaha, you probably don't know too much about them. They're in the USL League One. That would be the equivalent to probably your championship league. Yeah, so St. Louis did give up another late goal in that one, but the difference was already done, not in doubt. It was a 4-goal lead at the time. St. Louis SC cruises easily 5-1 victory. They now head to round 32 in the U.S. Open Cup, where they're going to play the Chicago Fire on May 9th. But this week, what we're focused on, week 10 in the MLS, they will play the Portland Timbers. That is tonight. So we're getting ready for that. Now, before I get into all of the week 10 matchups in the MLS and my over bet of the week, there's a couple things, Ian, that I did learn from this past week in the MLS. And it looks like, quite honestly, there's 3 teams in each conference that are starting to separate themselves at the top. In the West, St. Louis SC, Seattle, and LAFC. And in the East, New England, Cincinnati, and Atlanta. And LAFC has yet to lose a game on the season. That's quite remarkable. The other thing I kind of learned this weekend was New York City FC playing in Yankee Stadium continues to be profitable betting. We went over the 2.5 there and easily cashed. And it's actually in Yankee Stadium cashing at a 60% rate this season. But they are away this week, so we are going to have to wait until they come back home to that short field. The final thing that I learned, and we kind of spoke about how bad Montreal is last week. Well, they got their first win ironically, against the New York Red Bulls this week. So they are not the worst anymore. The worst team in the MLS is Sporting KC. They are absolutely an embarrassment. Listen, they have only scored, I think, 3 goals all season. They can't do anything. But the fun thing this weekend, tonight, what we get is we get a toilet bowl already. Montreal plays Sporting KC, and just 10 matches into the season. So that's what I learned from week number 9. So let's get into week number 10, and there are some intriguing matchups this weekend. The first one, New England, Cincinnati. We just talked about them being separating themselves. Well, they play each other this week for a chance with first place on the line in the East. That game's at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Which one of these teams are going to make a statement early? This isn't really a bet that I'm giving out, but I like New England in this. I think from what I've seen, they're the better team. I do like them to beat Cincinnati, and they are the home team tonight. Also today, again, St. Louis SC versus Portland. I have my eye on this one like I always have. But yes, it's at home for St. Louis SC. They are favored. But listen, it is going to be their 3rd game in 7 days, and Portland is a feisty team that can score goals. On top of that, Klaus, again, is out. And if St. Louis can win games without Klaus, I think the rest of the MLS league needs to be put on notice. Because how do they just not run over the entire team league when Klaus is in that lineup? The last thing that I want to talk about, and Ian, I'm going to get your thoughts on this real quick before I get into my bet. Columbus, they're hosting Inter Miami, and David Beckham has to be thinking of a change, surely, after his friend Phil Neville has had 6 straight losses, and they're now going to be put to a test against a good Columbus team. So, Ian, before I get to that over bet of the week, if I was an English football manager, if I was in the shoes of David Beckham and not in the MLS, would Neville be on the hot seat? Because it doesn't seem like he is.
Yeah, I think he would be for sure. Bad start like that, 5 or 6 games. Maybe they'd stretch it out for a little bit longer, but he'd certainly be under pressure. And there would already certainly be people calling for his head. I mean, you see it every year in the Premier League, usually with the sides that get promoted as well. Like I think like Nottingham Forest this season didn't start great. Mm-hmm. And straight away their manager, came under scrutiny of whether he was going to lose his job or not. So there would be for sure in the UK. There's a couple of things. Didn't St. Louis beat Cincinnati quite heavily the other week?
We did. It was I think it was 3-1 or 4-1. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 5, wasn't it? I mean, that was the game.
Yeah.
And so that's Cincinnati on the road again. That will be interesting to see if that's a theme for them, whether they're a poor side when they travel as opposed to whether they play at home.
100%.
Portland, I'm glad St. Louis are at home because I feel Portland are a better side when they play at home. And I also like the idea of this toilet bowl. And are there any bowl games that that are sponsored by like bleach or toilet cleaner companies or anything like that? That would be fucking great.
No, but I'm gonna pitch it. So that's what I've learned in week 9. That's what I'm looking forward to week 10. But my MLS over bet of the week, I'm taking 2 teams this week, Ian, that actually we haven't talked about at all this season. And that is DC United and Charlotte over 2.5 goals. Listen, Charlotte on the road is horrible, and every game on the road this season has gone over 2.5 goals in their games. Those games on average are actually averaging 3.8 goals per game on the road, and DC at home is averaging 3 goals per game with those matches. On top of everything that I just said, these 2 teams, ever since Charlotte came in the league last year, the 3 matches they've played have flown over the 2.5 goals. So trust me again, I'm going for 2 weeks in a row with this over. DC United, Charlotte, over 2.5.
And who's DC United's manager? Coach?
Rooney? I don't know.
Wayne Rooney.
Yeah.
There it is.
No, I thought he went back to the English team.
No, I think I'm sure he's coach of DC United.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
No, he went back. Oh, maybe he is. Yeah, he is. I thought he went back to play in the
What
English
did you
leagues.
introduce? What did you introduce me as at the start of this video? How dare you question me?
Expert Pilates instructor. I don't know how that has any bearing over anything. All right, well that's my over bet. Before we sign off, Ian, I know you always love to give us a pizza parlay, and we were one away from hitting last week, if I'm not mistaken. What do you got
We
this?
were.
What do you got this week?
Bloody Hartlepool let us down last week. Would have been a good one. I look. I got to say as well. This is about being prepared and being professional. I've given Matt the wrong odds for this parlay. They're not coming in. They're a bit less than what I put down here. They're coming in about it's about 1,900 something
Still
like that. So
good.
decent one, but just not as high as what I'd put down. So apologies for that one. But what we do, as I say, and I can't stress enough, it is only for fun. Just throw a little bit of loose change on this one, see if we can win you a pretty nice winner. But I'm going to pick one from the Premier League, one from the Championship, one from League One, one from League Two. I don't have many more chances to get this right for the EFL season end. So hopefully today. So Premier League, we're going for Brentford versus Nottingham Forest. Brentford usually pretty strong at home. Although Forest are fighting for their lives, but I do think Brentford will win that one. We're going for Reading versus Wigan in the Championship. Huge game at the bottom. Both sides really need a win, but I think the Royals will come through. Bolton Wanderers versus Fleetwood. Bolton really messed up on midweek against Accrington, so they really need to win that one to make sure they stay in the playoffs. Fleetwood, not much to play for. And Mansfield versus Harrogate. Mansfield themselves really need the win to try and see if they can get in the playoffs or even automatic promotion. Harrogate, not much to play for, got their safety confirmed, so they will be, as we say in the UK, on the beach.
I think it's going to happen. We are trending in the right direction, Ian. 3-1 yesterday. Oh, so close to hit. And that was, that one was at 2,200 odds. So that was good call by you on 3 of the 4. Listen, you could also, I mean, if people don't want to do that, you could actually round robin them as well. So if you do go 3-1, you'd actually probably win a little bit of coin there. Before we sign off, Ian, we didn't even talk about this pre-show because, quite honestly, I wanted to get a true reaction from you. But if you don't know, Ian is the biggest Oxford United fan in the entire world. His YouTube channel, Ian OUFC, follows them. Make sure you go subscribe to that. He's hilarious on that channel. And they basically, Oxford, had endured, coming into this week, a Cleveland Browns type season. And Ian, what did the Yellows do this week?
Yeah, well, it's been bloody torturous, and the only good thing about it has been the fact that I've had a nice jump in subscribers through the tragedy and the misery. And if you can jump over and see, I know a lot of you won't have a lot of interest in Oxford United as a club, but like I feel I do a pretty good job in telling the story of the games and the story of the season. So come and join me for that one. There's not many games left, and it looked like it was spiraling down the toilet bowl, as we said earlier on, but finally, the 18th time of asking, Oxford United did get a W on the board. A really, really good performance and a good win against Cheltenham Town. And all of a sudden now we're probably just one more win away from staying in the league, from securing our safety, which we shouldn't be anywhere near it, but unfortunately we are. We play the bottom of the league side, Forest Green Rovers today, who are one of the sides that have actually been more useless than us this season. So very confident Oxford can get the win there, and very confident that we can just nudge ourselves over the line and stay in League One for another season. But I was kind of thinking you were going to say it's time to talk about Oxford and then immediately end the stream.
That would have been better. But yeah, go join Ian over at Ian OUFC here on YouTube. Literally, Ian is the Mark Twain of Oxford football.
Love it.
All right. Well, hey, it's been another lovely Saturday morning with you, Ian, and everybody that watched out there. If you're just coming in, obviously this will be on replay. We get a lot of people that check out our bets after the fact. One last thing I kind of overlooked. JD said he thinks he likes the under in the Scottish match. Ian, any thoughts on that? The
Rangers Celtic. Yeah, I mean, again, cup semi-final, so that they tend to be quite defensive games where sides don't want to go out and lose it. I could see that one happening. I could see it being a 1-0, 2-0, or a 1-1 draw going into extra time.
Sure.
Not a bad bet, that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys for stopping in. Appreciate all the good chat we had today. And we'll be back next Saturday with Edgy to Win with 4 more best bets. Have a good weekend.